New Philippine National Police Chief Oscar Albayalde on Thursday vows to continue the low-key but stern leadership he has been known for. Albayalde replaces Ronald De La Rosa, his classmate in the Philippine Military Academy, who is seen as the opposite of the new PNP chief in terms of demeanor. When he was National Capital Region Police Chief, Albayalde was known to be strict in enforcing discipline among his subordinates. Albayalde also says he expects police commanders nationwide to go on surprise inspections in their areas, just as he had done when he was Metro Manila Police Chief. He used to go on his motorbike to conduct late-night surprise inspections on police stations in Metro Manila to keep his men on their feet. Albayalde sacked snoozing or slacking cops on the spot. Still on Albayalde, Interior Department Officer in charge Eduardo Año, whose agency oversees the PNP, says the unreleased 59.8 million peso allowance of the Special Action Force troopers will be a litmus test for the new PNP chief. Año is referring to the funds withheld from SAF troopers even after they had been released. Former SAF Chief Benjamin Lusad and other former SAF officers were earlier relieved and are facing complaints before the Office of the Ombudsman. Año says, quote, he is a former SAF commando and official, so he knows the struggles of SAF and how they look forward to receiving additional benefits from the PNP. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III on Thursday confirms there will no longer be an executive order against contractualization. Bello leaves it to Congress to pass a law instead. Ending contractualization was one of President Rodrigo Duterte's campaign promises. The Labor Secretary says an EO against contractualization will be pointless if it's not strictly implemented. Bello adds penalties should be imposed on airing establishments which an EO cannot cover. A final version of the draft EO was already made by labor groups after several discussions with the Labor Department. Bello says the drafts were submitted to the Office of the Executive Secretary for signing, but they already mirrored the bills filed in Congress. The Consultative Committee on Thursday finalizes its wording of Article 1 of its draft charter, firming up the country's stance on the West Philippine Sea and its claim over Sabah. Article 1, compared to its counterpart in the 1987 Constitution, has 2 paragraphs and refers specifically to international courts, laws of the sea, and sovereign rights. Father Emilio Aquino, the CONCOM member who sponsored the final wording of the proposed article, says the article harmonizes the Philippine Constitution with existing international laws on the sea. This firms up the Philippine position with regards to the Permanent Court of Arbitration's ruling on the West Philippine Sea, which declared China's claim to it as invalid. Aquino says the proposed wording of Article 1, quote, gives constitutional status to the arbitral judgment. The proposed article also introduces the concept of sovereign rights to the Philippine Constitution. Sovereign rights are the types of rights the Philippines has over areas like Benham or Philippine Rice in the West Philippine Sea. The arbitral ruling says it was the country's sovereign rights which China violated through its reclamation activities and harassment of Filipino fishermen in the West Philippine Sea. The Sabah claim, meanwhile, will be backed by this line, quote, it likewise has sovereignty over all the other territories belonging to the Philippines by historic right or legal title. Aquino says this gives ample room for the Philippines to assert its claim to Sabah if it decides to do so in the future. He also says the CONCOM's proposed provisions don't necessarily contradict the conduct of foreign policy at the moment. China has long ignored the arbitral ruling and continued its military buildup in the West Philippine Sea. The Duterte administration has downplayed the arbitral ruling in its bid to build closer ties to China. ABS-CBN's Gabby Lopez is now Chairman Emeritus of the television giant after over 2 decades as chairman. His cousin, former ABS-CBN Chief Technology Officer Mark Lopez, succeeds him as chairman. The elder Lopez says, quote, as every athlete knows, there comes a time when inevitably it's time to let go of the reins and allow others to take over. My father has always said broadcasting is for the young. After all, today's digital world is vastly difficult from the world I managed. Lopez's father, Henny Lopez, was ABS-CBN's first chairman emeritus after he succeeded him as chairman in 1997. In a statement, ABS-CBN credits Gabby Lopez for transforming the company from being the country's biggest broadcasting network into being the country's leading media and entertainment company. ABS-CBN says Mark Lopez was identified as a successor as early as 5 years ago. United States President Donald Trump on Wednesday says he isn't afraid to walk away from a historic meeting in May with North Korean leader Kim Jong-Un if it appears unlikely to be fruitful. But Trump says he hopes the meeting will push through. He says, quote, if I think that it's a meeting that is not going to be fruitful, we're not going to go. If the meeting when I'm there is not fruitful, I will respectfully leave the meeting. Trump adds, quote, I like always remaining flexible and will remain flexible here. The American president also confirmed CIA Chief Mike Pompeo, his nominee for next state secretary, had a secret meeting with Kim during Easter weekend. Trump says, quote, "He just left North Korea, had a great meeting with Kim Jong-Un and got along with him really well, really great. He's very smart, but he gets along with people."